Hey, what is up YouTube? Kolst here. So we are continuing our card review for the Fraction Alterac Valley expansion. There have been close to 40 cards announced. I've released a recent video probably as of posting this that includes the class cards. So we're just going to continue to go over the neutral cards here. So let's get right into it. There are quite some interesting neutrals that have been announced so far. There have been, looks like 9 announced so far. The first one we'll talk about is Lokalar the Icelord. Is a 10 mana 8/8 rush wind fury, which I guess doesn't seem super crazy, but then if you have 15 health or less, it costs 5 instead of 10. So essentially, you know, kind of in the same vein as like Lion's Guard, right? If you have 15 or less health. So compared to that, like honestly, I mean, the potential of the Wind Fury is that it could actually, like, you know, if it happens to stick, it could just, you know, straight up win you the game. But overall, before you've met this condition, a 10 mana 8/8 rush is pretty hard to play, obviously. You can't play before turn 10, but I don't know. It's a lot worse than a 5 mana 4/6, actually. And then, you know, debatably, I mean, the upside of this versus, like, you know, having a 6/10 taunt in arena, it's maybe not even better. So honestly, it's probably just not that good to be honest. There's just, you know, especially in the legendary bucket, you probably hope to get better things, but I mean, you know, in the right kind of deck, if you have decks that, you know, take damage through weapons or life tap or whatever, it could be pickable, but probably not exactly what you're gonna be looking for. And then next we move on to an epic card here, which is Grim Totem Bounty Hunter. 3 mana 4/2 Valkyrie, destroy an enemy legendary minion. So basically the original version of Big Game Hunter, except instead of hunting big game, it hunts legendaries. So basically Rend Blackhand over here is crying, somebody call him. But the thing is like a 3 mana 4/2 isn't really good enough, and you just don't see legendaries that often. You see a fair amount, and honestly, as you get to high winds, you will see more. So like, this is definitely pickable. It's probably just not going to be like super high priority, right? But you know, you'll pick this over garbage for sure. Whether you would pick this over like a vanilla stat minion, you might actually, you know, it's probably gonna be pretty good because you do see legendaries often enough. You might take it over like vanilla stats because it's just, you're not paying enough to, the upside is probably worth it. So you'll probably see some of these. It's an epic, so you won't see it super often. It's not like gonna be like, it's not gonna be at the point where you feel like, oh no, I'm forced to pick a legendary because this exists, right? Because epics aren't super common. But yeah, it's probably gonna be a decently pickable card. Right, so moving on to another card, which will be decently pickable. This is the spammy Arcanist. So basically, this is a reprint of another card which used to exist, which is an extremely good class card in Arena, which was Defile. This literally casts Defile, but you get essentially, it's attached to a 3 mana 3/4 on the end of it. This is a very significant addition to Arena. The thing is like, it's an epic, so it's not gonna be super common, but there are certain classes, you know, talking about like Druid, Rogue, for example, that literally cannot cast like literally any AoE at all, that suddenly have access to one of the best AoEs literally ever printed, right? So the fact that this exists is going to, you know, change things quite a bit. And this definitely will be a pickable, very strong pickable card in Arena. You obviously won't prioritize it quite as highly in an aggressive deck, for example, but you know, it's gonna kind of fill like the same spot that like Shavara does, where, you know, it's probably good enough that you might still pick one in an aggressive deck just to try to come back, but it's gonna be a lot less consistent, so maybe not actually. But yeah, I mean, in a control deck though, this is like super giga premium. You're gonna want like all these you can get, right? It's gonna be probably a bit less consistent than Defile, just because, you know, you can't play it with so many removals on the same turn. So, you know, being able to play Defile with other cards allowed you to line up the effect so that you could get a more consistent board clear. So the fact that this is on a 5-mana card just makes it a little bit less consistent, but it's still going to be extremely good, because, you know, pretty good chance if you get like just like 2 or 3 triggers off of this, it's probably just going to be worth it. And with that, let's move on to a legendary here, which is Ibis the Forest Lord. 1 mana 1/1, but with Battle Cry, spend the rest of your mana and gain +2/+2 rush, divine shield, or taunt at random for each. From my understanding, the way that this card works is that you cannot gain rush or divine shield or taunt multiple times. Once you have an effect, you have it. So it's not just gonna like be like it's not gonna be like an 8 mana 1/1 rush, divine shield, quad taunt, right? Like it's not gonna do that. But it can repeat the +2/+2 buff. So the thing that's interesting is that even if you play for 8 mana, you're not guaranteed, bro. By that, I'm pretty sure you're not actually guaranteed to have all of the effects. You can actually just get a whole bunch of stats and nothing else. But generally speaking, you know, you're going to play this somewhere in the mid to late game. You're going to get Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt, and you're going to get a whole bunch of stats, essentially. Just the amount, like, you can imagine if you play this on, well, if you play this on turn 4 and the 1 mana Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt, probably not very good, right? You could probably want to play it later just to make sure you get what you want more consistently. But, like, on turn 6, it could be like a 5/5 Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt, right? Which is pretty crazy. So essentially just kind of a somewhat mid to late game, just big threat in Arena with a whole bunch of initiative and taunt. So everything you could possibly want from late game cards. So it would be extremely strong. I mean, essentially what you're getting to is that this thing is just like essentially a way better version of Siamat, honestly, which is a very good Arena card. But yeah, now let's move on to another very good Arena card, which is a power crap version of a very rather recent very strong Arena card, which is Abominable Lieutenant. So this is an 8 mana 3/5. At the end of your turn, eat a random enemy minion and gain its stats. So essentially, as I mentioned, this is basically a power crept version of Runaway Blackwing, which is a card that was banned re-release actually because there was so much community outrage about how busted this would be in Arena. So this is a better version of it because essentially Runaway Blackwing, you know, would kill something every turn. Essentially didn't go through Divine Shield like this does, but it would kill something every turn and then it would push 9 damage afterwards, right? Which would just quickly end the game. This thing will eat something very similar to Runaway Blackwing, but not only does it just kill something, it also gains health every turn. So I mean, it's like even more than Runaway Blackwing. If this thing ever lives for more than a turn, the game just ends instantly, right? Because it will eventually end the game. So this thing is absolutely insane. It is an epic, so assuming it does reach Arena, you probably won't see it that often, but yeah, it is very strong. And you know, it's the exact same type of card that, you know, Arena players don't tend to particularly like because they will individually snowball games to victory from even potentially losing positions. So with RNG involved, by the way. So yeah, not a card I'm super fan of, and we'll see if there's an uprising to remove this card or not, but because, you know, based off the precedent of Runaway Blackwing, maybe it will be, but we'll have to see, of course. And with that, we're going to move on to another card which is potentially extremely going to be probably pretty damn meta defining, which is Knight Captain. This is a 5 mana 3/3 battle cry, deal 3 damage, which doesn't seem too good, right? But with Honorable Kill, this thing gains +3/+3. So if there is a 3 health minion on board, this thing grows to a 6/6, which makes it an extremely power crept version of some really good cards in the past. For example, Baited Arrow or Fire Elemental, for example. These are cards that it's like basically a better version of. So, and the thing is that this card is also common. This might be meta defined to the point that just literally any card that has 3 health on it might go down in value. So like a 2 mana 2/3, a 3 mana 4/3, like these kind of cards might go down in value significantly just because this card exists. It was the same way that, you know, when Twin Tyrant came out, cards that were 4 health, like a 4 mana 5/4, for example, went significantly down in value. This is the type of thing that can really actually seriously impact just the way the cards that you actually draft in Arena. But so yeah, it's going to make Arena a bit weird just having something like this in the game, because presumably I'm not assuming this will get banned, right? So like this will exist and it's going to, you know, be something that you're going to have to play around because the snowball of this is just game losing. So this is going to be potentially the single most impactful card on the Arena meta of the new cards, at least that have been revealed so far, is this one, particularly because it is a neutral common. With that, let's move on to the last couple of neutral cards here. The first one here is a 1 mana 1/3 common again, Gnome Private. Honorable Kill, gain +2 attack. Obviously, if your opponent plays, you know, a 1 mana 2/1 and then you play this, they're like, oh, and they're not pink class, they're like, oh shit. But overall, like, yeah, you're probably not going to get super high upside out of the honorable kill, you know, like the best thing you're probably going to get is maybe you get to get an extra 3-1, you know, instead of a 1-1. So that's significant, right? That's a significant amount of tempo, but like this is, you know, not going to like snowball a game out of control, right? So this seems like a very, very strong neutral 1-drop, right? But not something that's super impressive, right? So I think this is a, you know, a nice addition to Arena. Give me some of the classes that don't really necessarily have good 1-drops. Another option there, so it seems pretty good. Let's move on to the last 2 legendary cards here. I'll talk about together, I guess. Well, this one is Vandar Stormpike. I'll have to talk about them individually. This is 4 mana 4/4 Battlecry. This costs less than every minion in your deck. Reduce their cost by 3. Oh, I'll talk about this one too. This is 4 mana 4/4 Battlecry. This costs more than every minion in your deck. Summon 2 of them. So of course, these cards are actually in your account, or you get to choose one of them based off of your choice of Horde and Alliance in the client right now. So I guess I will talk about them together because I mean these are absurdly powerful effects, right? Either getting like a whole bunch of tempo right out the gate, you know, if you can happen to play that active on turn 4 somehow, or reducing the cost of every card in your deck. The thing is that, you know, you're just realistically not gonna be able to draft around these things. Imagine trying to draft an arena deck that doesn't have 2 or 3 mana minions, right? Like it's just, it doesn't really work. And try to draft an arena deck that doesn't have, you know, 4+ mana minions. Doesn't really work, right? So of course in constructed, these cards, it can be very interesting to try to build around and stuff, but as far as arena is concerned, it's a 4 mana 4/4, right? Maybe if you happen to randomly discover these somehow in the late game, you might actually be able to trigger them, right? And then you could do something, but generally speaking, you know, you're probably not gonna, you know, expect too much out of these. So you're probably gonna pick most other legendaries over them. But yeah, so anyway, that is it for this card review. Of course, I'll be continuing to review more of these cards as they impact the arena as they come out. So stay tuned for that. If you want to, you know, you want to check out more of that content as it comes out, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you like it. Dislike if you dislike it. Leave a comment on which card you thought would be the most impactful thing and which you are really excited to see, really terrified of, or whatever. But yeah, thanks a lot for hanging out. We will see you guys in the next one.